Welcome to another episode of the Unsolicited Ramblings of Justin Scott. I thought it might be nice to introduce with my mouth full. And man, there's freaking lightning! It's awesome! Lightning is awesome! It's like I literally had to see over 20 lightning strikes in the past maybe 3 or 4 minutes. It's awesome. It's like a whole lightning cloud over there. And by the way, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the coolest thing in the whole freaking world. Lightning is. Like, you do some reading about how it works. It's really special. It makes the conditions kind of just right for it to happen. They say, I guess, you know, since you're not going to probably read about it, I'm trying to also like remember how this works well, so I can learn even more about it. Because oh man, it's just so cool. It's like it's one of those few things in the world that's just, it's that divine shape, the golden ratio. I don't know how you want to call that, but there's this like divine like code of architecture and engineering and all things that are nature, and lightning is that. Like, everything about it is just that perfect randomness that only real life can do and be. It's so special. The shape every time, the amount of time. I'd like to see how it like bends space-time, right? Because that happens. But I guess what I've read so far, the way it works is the air gets ionized, right? Well, I guess before that, let's start before that. The cloud gets an overwhelming negative charge, and the mechanism that causes that to happen is dust and air and water particles kind of circulate in the cloud, right? Where particles near the bottom will get colder and they'll rise up, and at the same time the particles at the top will, you know, they'll get warmer and fall down, or the opposite of that. The opposite of that. Particles in the bottom get warm and they rise up because heat rises. Yeah, that makes sense. Heat rises. And particles in the top, like dust, air, water particles, will get colder and they'll drop down, and as they're falling past each other, they'll collide like randomly, you know, so they theorize. And as this happens, the electrons get stripped from some of these particles colliding, and they kind of collect near the bottom of the cloud, and it makes the cloud have like a negative charge at the bottom of the cloud and a positive charge at the top of the cloud. Now you got this polarized cloud with a heavy negative charge on bottom, and it's heavy because the heavy particles have fallen down. And now that you have this overwhelmingly negative charge at the bottom of the cloud, it has this opposites, not opposites attract, the opposite of that. Like the like charges repel, right? So the negative charges in the bottom of the cloud push the electrons on the ground further down into the ground. Oh, this rain is beautiful. And since it's repelling those electrons and those negative charges further into the ground, then it makes the ground have a similar charge structure as the cloud. Like, since the negative charge is pushed further into the ground, the like upper part of the ground will be more positively charged. So now you got this negatively charged bottom of the cloud and positively charged ground, right? And I don't know if you've ever licked a battery or connected the two ends together, right? I mean, electrons want to flow from negative to positive. They want to flow. So they need to find the right channel for that to happen. Like, right? So you have like almost all this pressure building up of these magnetic fields. And with all that built up, what it causes to happen is it starts separating charges in the air, and it makes the different molecules in the air separate into the different ions, and then these ions can kind of move and flow around. And once the air gets ionized like that, then you start getting like these wavy channels of positively charged space, as these charges have like flowed and separated in such a way. They call those positive streamers, and these positive streamers will happen, like create themselves into the charged ionized space in between the densely negatively charged cloud and the positively charged ground. And as these streamers reach up, they'll kind of happen off the top of, like, the taller things around. Not necessarily, but like the corners of tall buildings or of trees, or like, I didn't see a streamer. That'd be cool to see. There's pictures. You can go on the internet and look up pictures of positive streamers, but I actually saw this like really fucking cool like branch of lightning strike onto a tower earlier, like one of those towers earlier. And at the same time as these positive streamers are forming off of the taller objects around in the ionized spaces in the air, you get like negative streamers, like almost like the negative charges of the particles in the cloud of what will become lightning, kind of working their way down from the top, and eventually they'll finally touch, and they'll create a clear pathway for all of this electricity to flow, and BAM! This big old strike of lightning. It's like thousands of fucking degrees, super cool, really, really bright. All the particles in the air just explode. It's so loud and bright. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. And then within that lightning strike, like, you don't just always get one lightning strike. It'll repeatedly blast into it sometimes. And all these other negative streamers that didn't fill, you got the one that connected, but it's not just one creating itself. It's like a tree, right? You got the one pushes down, and the one pushes off of that one, and one pushes off of that one, and that one, and that one. Like, how the branches of a lightning strike look, right? So when that charge finally connects from the cloud to the ground, and that explosive lightning, it doesn't just go straight down. It all kind of bounces all around, like in there, in the all this ionized air in that streamer space. So all those other negative streamers will fill up with all that light and explosive sound and electricity. It's really, really, really cool. And I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate that, and all of that beauty, and like learning how it works. And I don't even know enough. I wish I did, but maybe you didn't like look into all of that. So now you know. If you like watch this, you just learned about lightning, and lightning is really, really cool. Gosh, I love it. I want to love it forever, and I undoubtedly will. I don't know how. Do me a favor. Help me find a way to just pursue constructively this passion of lightning. Beyond just, of course, I'll just research it some more, find out how it works, because that's very, very cool. I'll definitely look at pictures. Someday I'll even take pictures. My dad takes pictures of lightning. He's got a bunch of them. It's really cool. I half expected him to see him pulled over on the side of the road. Oh, this camera, except it's raining. But he'll do it in his truck. Oh man, that was a good old hunk of meat, that was. Yeah. Alright, well, now you know about lightning a little, and you can see how much I love it, and now you love it, because now you know more about it. And the more you know about something, the greater capacity you have to love it. That especially goes with people. You love someone, you get to know them. That's like, you naturally wish to do that, because love and knowledge are connected to each other like that. Not necessarily, but that creates the greatest strength in the whole entire world, I feel. Love and knowledge being the two utmost values of existence, of our minds, right? So when you love someone, you get to know them, and as you get to know them more and more, then you have that capacity to love them more and more, right? And everything you do, you don't necessarily love everything that you know. You can do that. I try to. It doesn't always work like that, but you can do that. You could just choose. It's all about creating that structure. And let me tell you what, those thoughts happen a lot like lightning does, in my opinion. Everything just kind of follows that path of least resistance somehow. I'm not sure how that works, but apparently it's something like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, etc., etc., etc. And for those of you that don't know, that's the Fibonacci sequence. And as you divide the ratio of each number to the preceding number, so on and so forth, along that infinite sequence, you approach that beautiful golden ratio that lightning emulates, that everything kind of does in a way. Movements, trees, leaves, the veins in your heart, the veins in your eyeballs, those little lines I can see in my eyeballs that are always there now when I see, they're kind of like brownish, but I don't see them all the time, just when I look at like the sky kind of. Not the floaties, but the floaties do it too. It's neat, man. The world is neat. It's so beautiful. The golden ratio. Lightning! Okay, thanks, bye.